Sweden, officially the Kingdom of Sweden, is located in the eastern Scandinavian Peninsula, northern Europe, bordering Norway to the west and north, Finland to the east, and Denmark to the southwest. Covering an area of 447,425 square kilometers with a total population of about 10.4 million, Sweden is the largest Nordic country, the third largest country in the European Union, and the fifth largest country in Europe. Sweden has been inhabited by the Germanic peoples since prehistoric times, who emerged into history as the Geats and Swedes. During the Viking Age, many Viking expeditions set off from Sweden to both plunder and trade along the Baltic coast and the rivers that stretched deep into present-day Russia. Around the year 1000, Olaf Skotkonung became the first known king to rule both Svealand and Gotaland, two of three lands of Sweden. During the 11th and 12th centuries, Sweden gradually became a unified Christian kingdom that later included Finland. The kings of the Uppsala city ruled most of modern Sweden except for the southern and western coastal regions, which remained under Danish rule. In the 12th century, Sweden remained fragmented with the struggle between the Erik and Sverker clans, eventually ending with the formation of the Belgebo dynasty, which consolidated a pre-Kalmar Union Sweden into a strong state. In 1332, King Magnus IV united the kingdom with Norway and Scania, which was, at that time, part of the Kingdom of Denmark. The Black Death killed about a third of the Scandinavian population and led to a long period of economic and population decline in Sweden. After that, the alliance weakened, and Scania was lost to the Danes. Following an internal power struggle in Sweden, Queen Margaret I of Denmark united Sweden, Norway, and Denmark into the Union of Kalmar in 1397. During the 16th century, a series of rebellions eventually broke Sweden's ties to the Kalmar Union. The fighting reached a climax following the Stockholm bloodbath, a massacre of Swedish nobles in Stockholm ordered by King Christian II of Denmark in 1520. In response to this, Gustav Vasa of the Vasa noble family rose to lead the rebel movement and was crowned king in 1523, paving the way for Sweden's final secession from the Kalmar Union. At the same time, he encouraged Protestant preachers, eventually breaking with the Roman Catholic Church and founding the Lutheran Church in Sweden. In 1544, medieval Sweden's elective monarchy was replaced with a hereditary monarchy under the House of Vasa, which held the Swedish throne until 1654. From the mid-16th century, Sweden had sought expansion into Livonia, in the territory of present-day Estonia and Latvia. But these efforts were hindered by the Russian Tsar via the Russo-Swedish War, which culminated in the Treaty of Novgorod. After Gustav's death, his oldest son Erik XIV ascended the throne. By the time of his reign, the Livonian War was fought for control over Old Livonia before the Tsardom of Russia and a varying coalition of Denmark, Norway, the Kingdom of Sweden, and the Polish-Lithuanian Union. At the conclusion of hostilities, Sweden controlled Estonia, forming the Duchy of Estonia. Since the dissolution of the Kalmar Union, Swedish foreign policy had been aimed at gaining control over the Baltic Sea, leading to repeated wars with Denmark from the 1560s onward. Under the reign of King Gustav II Adolf, Sweden gained various victories in the 30 Years' War, seizing territories from Russia and the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. After defeating Denmark in two wars of 1643 and 1657, Sweden gained control over the provinces of Denmark as well as Finland and provinces in northern Germany. After the Peace of Westphalia and the Peace of Roskilde with Denmark, Sweden emerged as a great power in northern Europe. However, after its defeat in the Great Northern War against a combined force of Denmark, Russia, and Poland, Sweden lost most of its provinces on the other side of the Baltic Sea. Then during the Napoleonic Wars, Sweden lost Finland to Russia. In 1810, a French marshal, Jean-Baptiste Bernadotte was chosen as heir to the Swedish throne, taking the regnal name of Charles XIV. During his reign, Sweden fought its one last war with the Norwegians, successfully ceding Norway to the empire. Norway, then, was forced into a personal union with Sweden in 1814, which was peacefully dissolved in 1905. However, overseas trade was hard hit by the Napoleonic Wars, leading to general stagnation and economic crisis in Sweden. By the late 19th century, 90% of the people still earned their livelihoods from agriculture. Sweden remained neutral throughout World War I, trading with both the Allied powers and the Central Powers. In response to Swedish trade with Germany, the Allies stopped a large percentage of Sweden's trade, causing a severe food shortage in Sweden. This eventually resulted in the replacement of Sweden's conservative government with a social democratic one. During the war, some Swedes also joined the White Guards with the Germans to fight against the Red Guards and Russians in the Finnish Civil War, and briefly occupied land jointly with the German Empire. However, Sweden ultimately withdrew following Finnish protests. At the outbreak of World War II in September 1939, Sweden again maintained its policy of neutrality. During the German invasion of the Soviet Union, Sweden allowed the Wehrmacht to use Swedish railways to transport the German troops and heavy weapons from Norway to Finland. For the Allies, Sweden helped to train soldier refugees from Denmark and Norway to be used in the liberation of their home countries. It also allowed the Allies to use Swedish air bases between 1944 and 1945. Sweden was one of the first non-participants of World War II to join the United Nations. During the post-war era, Sweden flourished in industry, facilitating the development of the social welfare system called folkhemmet, the people's home, a Swedish term for the Swedish welfare state or the Swedish model. However, by the 1970s, the economies of the rest of Western Europe were prosperous and growing rapidly, while the Swedish economy stagnated. During the Cold War, Sweden publicly maintained a strict neutrality policy and, at the same time, kept unofficially strong ties with the US, Norway, Denmark, West Germany, and other NATO countries. A few years after the end of the Cold War, Sweden became a member of the European Union. By 2000, compared to the rest of Europe, Sweden witnessed great economic growth with low unemployment and inflation rates. In 2018, the Social Democrats and Greens formed a minority government led by Prime Minister Stefan Löfven. After the resignation of Stefan Löfven, Finance Minister Magdalena Andersson became Sweden's first female prime minister. She then formed a minority government made up of only her Social Democrats. Currently, Sweden possesses a highly developed economy and maintains an extensive social welfare system following the Nordic model. Sweden is also a member of many organizations, such as the United Nations, the Nordic Council, the Council of Europe, the World Trade Organization, and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development.
Thanks for watching. If you find this information useful, please give us a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos of history.